Muted. Why is my mic muted? That was my mic's not muted. Hey, what's going on, everybody? Ty from AGI Pro DJ here, doing AGI Pro DJ After Hours Episode 7. We're doing a product spotlight on Serato Studio, and I'm joined today by Mr. Sonny James. Sonny, how you doing, man?
How are you?
Excellent. I'm doing well. The weather here sucks today, but, you know, it's all right. Can't complain.
Yeah. Unpredictable weather is kind of the theme of the past 2 years.
Seems like it. Seems like it.
Yeah.
So those of you who don't know Sonny James, he is located in Los Angeles. He is, if I'm not mistaken, West Coast Artist Relations with Serato, correct?
That's correct. Yeah.
Perfect. So, you want to give everybody a quick rundown of who you are, what you're doing at Serato, where your DJ background came from, what you've done, what you're doing, what you're going to do?
Sure. So I'm from Philadelphia originally, and I've been in LA for about 4 years now. And I basically spent the past 20 plus years just DJing full time for artists, doing every kind of party you can imagine, from corporate functions to, throwing my own parties with my DJ crew, Ill Vibe Collective, to, yeah, DJing just all around the world and just having a great time, just being a full time artist and producer slash DJ.
Right on. Cool. And then, so what are you doing for Serato right now?
So yeah, so what we do is artist relations, which is an extension of the marketing team, which is primarily based in New Zealand. Obviously Serato is based in New Zealand, and so we have several satellite studios where we can sort of manage our relationships with the various artists who use the number of products that we have out. And I happen to run the LA studio with my partner Cut Corners. And yeah, we just look after pretty much all the artist needs and try to provide as much support as we can to make sure they have good gigs and do what they can do.
Right on, right on. So I assume there's a team just like you on the other side of the U.S., correct?
That's correct. So
and
yeah,
located all over the world, right?
Yeah. So our U.S. studios, it's just 2 studios in the U.S. at the moment, and that's LA and Brooklyn. So shout out to OP and DJ Destruct who run the Brooklyn studio.
Yep. Right
And
on.
then we have a studio in London as well, and then our studio in New Zealand is Studio One. So shout out to Kid Koo there, and Blakey runs the London studio.
Right on. Very cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not everybody knows that Serato is located in New Zealand, but
Yeah, that's a good point. I thought about it when I said it.
yeah, for sure, for sure. There's a lot of things that I think that we all know that we probably take for granted, for sure.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, definitely. So we're going to be going over how to make DJ edits with Serato Studio. Like you said, your artist relations for all the different products that Serato makes, and it used to just be Serato Scratch Live, and then
Right.
a lot of people don't know that Serato made Pitch in Time, which is a cinematography tool that a lot of major studios use and have used.
Yep.
The Serato Pyro. There's a lot of history in the Serato company, where Scratch Live and other things, but we'll get back to that and some of the trivia stuff later on. Just a quick side note: make sure to stick around through the end of our clinic today. We're going to be doing some live Q&A and trivia afterwards, and you'll have a chance to win a copy of Serato Studio. So that's cool.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to add, Sonny, or talk about as far as what you're up to, or? I have a question for you.
Sure.
How'd you end up in LA from Philly?
Oh, that's actually a good question, and it's pretty common. Philadelphia is like the mecca of DJing, right? So, coming up there, it's like probably the most ideal place to sort of grow your legs as a DJ, because there's so much competition, which keeps you on your toes. But also the crowds there are very particular, and they've seen it all, heard it all, and it's a pretty popular city for a lot of other artists to kind of travel through and also even live for a short time. Thinking about artists like, Diplo and Rich Medina and, all these guys are like international phenomenon, so to speak.
Right.
And they all kind of got their training in Philly. So I'm really proud to represent that legacy. And I feel like, I've successfully made my mark as a DJ there, and as a person who's become sort of an ambassador of Philadelphia. Like when I, go to other countries and whatnot, it's great. But at the same time, some of the challenges that I've had there just are kind of, I don't know, some of the challenges that I've experienced there are just things that made me feel like I needed to go elsewhere for my well-being more than anything. I feel like I could still have a strong career there, but in terms of just like my emotional, mental health, I felt like I really needed to go elsewhere. And at first I thought about New York, and I actually lived in New York for a year in like 2006 to 2007. But if I felt like if I wanted to make that move permanently, then I needed to be somewhere where I would really enjoy waking up. And California was kind of always on that list,
Yep.
Yeah,
So
I love
California. It's sunshine. It's beautiful.
It is, and I think even more so than the weather and just like aesthetically, it just being pleasing. I think just the culture of the people here. You know, I've meshed well with so many people almost instantly as soon as I moved here and moved my family here, and we've all just made great friends that'll probably be my friends for a lifetime. So no regret.
Cool. Well, we're glad to have you out here. Some people don't know, but AGI Pro DJ is located in Oregon, which is just north of California. So we're West Coast homies also. So a couple of our close friends, Zimmy up in Portland. He's from Pennsylvania, and then Excel down there in LA.
Absolutely.
He's done some videos for us as well. So yeah, there's a lot of DJs that have come out of that area. Like you said, it's kind of it's like that place where you get your roots, and then it's so
yeah, and we all know each other. That's the cool thing about Philly, is that it's a big city, but at the same time it's a small culture there. So I feel like, whenever I go somewhere, I was in Berghain one night in Berlin when I was out there playing gigs, and a dude at the bar just recognized that I had an American accent, and he asked me where I was from. I said Philly. Oh, what are you doing here? I'm DJing. Oh, do you know Rich Medina? Do you know King Britt? Do you know Jazzy Jeff? It's like, yep, this is all my guys.
Sure do.
Yeah, so it's great to be able to again represent a legacy that is so rich, and also be able to call some of those guys like family and friends. So
yeah, for sure.
I'm thankful.
Awesome, man. Very cool. Are you ready to dive in?
Yeah, sure.
Show our viewers how easy it is to make a beat with Serato Studio. You're gonna do a beat from scratch first, correct?
So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do a DJ edit. I'm gonna do a couple DJ edits.
Okay.
Yeah, we're not gonna go too far down the beat rabbit hole, but
right.
I love Serato Studio, and I'm happy to show the different things that it does.
Cool. All right.
Yeah.
Take it away, man.
Cool. So there's my screen. So if you haven't ever opened Serato Studio before or seen any of our content that we produced around it, this is the view that you'll get when you choose to do a DJ edit. And the first thing that you'll notice is that there is an EQ right here on your right. And that EQ actually applies to your entire audio track, which this window right here represents. So I'm going to close that view, and then you can actually see your library here. So you have a few categories here on your left. The first one being your Serato DJ library. Super helpful because, when you're using Serato DJ, you're pretty much used to looking at this kind of view all the time. So the idea was to make a piece of software that DJs didn't feel intimidated using. And then your next category is projects that you've actually worked on. After that, you've got drums. And the cool thing about the drums in particular is that, like, I know when I first opened other pieces of software that allow you to make beats, I wasn't really too thrilled with like the sound, the factory sounds that come with it. So we paid extra attention to that and making sure that DJs, when they open the software, they're often running with like quality, tools. So we actually licensed some sounds from various artists. So right here you see we've got like DiBiase, who's a legend in the LA beat scene. We've got A-Track and Fool's Gold did a sound pack for us. The Future Wave sound pack is dope. Just Blaze, SP12, Stolen Drums, and so on. And then after that, you've got your audio samples category, which allows you to just pull any piece of audio into a sample deck and sort of manipulate it in the same way you can on Serato Sample, for people who are aware of that. And then after that, you've got effects, which a lot of these effects Serato DJ users will be familiar with. Some of the high pass filters and echoes and things of that nature. After that, you've got instruments, which are also available in the sound packs, and then there's a ton of instruments in the core pack as well. And the cool thing about the instruments in particular is that when you load them, they actually snap to the key of the project that you're working in. So that's really dope. And then you've got plugins, which all your third-party plugins you can actually use inside the software. And then not too long ago, we added the files panel similar to DJ, so you can actually browse your computer, for tools to use without having to leave the program and search in your Finder.
So you're able to use third-party VSTs inside of Studio?
That's correct.
Perfect. And then I think it's also worth noting that most of the sample and drum packs that are available, those are all free with your subscription, correct?
That's very true. Yeah. So when you subscribe or you purchase Serato Studio, which is also kind of a new development where you can actually buy it outright, you get all the sounds for free, which, you know, for me, it's worth it just for that alone, because again, I'm used to dealing with either crappy factory sounds or I'm having to comb my library through 100,000 snares that I've collected over the years since the MPC days to try to like get something going. And it's quite overwhelming. So I find
these are all curated collections for some pretty notable artists. So.
Yeah, exactly. And it's, you know, and it's not throwaway sounds. It's like sounds that they've actually used in records that have sold, you know, tons. So it's really dope to know that you have in your arsenal tools that work.
Right on.
So for this demo, I'm going to just search my Serato DJ library and I'm going to pull up a Busta Rhymes track. Boom. I've got so many copies of this song and I'm just going to throw that as a little preview, but I'm going to throw that in my audio track window. And then right away, it analyzes the Serato wave. We're all used to seeing that in Serato DJ. And I'm just going to zoom in with my mouse and just make sure that this marker is on the one where I want it. Cool. And so what I'd like to do here is I want to make what's called a quick hitter. You know, usually when I play this song in the club, I just kind of rearrange it live. And what I like to do in particular is cut right to the bridge where Khalees sort of does her thing and Busta kind of plays in the background. And then I like to bring it back to Busta's first verse. And then I'm going to go from that into an outro. So to be clear, I'm going to go from my intro, which I think is 8 bars, if I'm not mistaken. And then I'm going to cut right to the bridge, which is around here after the first hook. And then I'm going to jump back to the first verse. And then I'm going to then jump to the outro. Sounds a little complicated, but it's really easy to do in Serato Studio. So let's see here. You know, another thing I like to mention too is that you can easily shift the tempo here without changing anything about the sound. So I think in the club I'm normally at about 104 or 105 when I play this kind of record. So I'm going to just shift it up to 105. It's going to time stretch seamlessly and we're going to be all good.
Violator, Neptune, what you want? Yeah, what you want? When we coming, come on. When we coming, come on. When we coming, come on. Come on, yeah, come on. Who be the fuck?
So right away we see that our first verse starts here. So I'm just going to zoom in and I'm going to, the same way with Serato DJ, you can use the numbers on your QWERTY keyboard and you can just literally set a cue marker right there.
Yeah. Come on. Who be the father for this?
Cool. So that's our marker for our first verse. And then, like I said, I want to go to the bridge before that. So let's find that.
Right now, come on.
There we go. And I'm going to set another marker there. So let's go back and just make sure that that's where it should be. There we go.
This be the beat to rock for the street.
Cool. And then the last point is my outro. So let's set a marker there as well.
Come on.
So that synth is right exactly where that outro should be. And it's setting it a little bit off because of my beat grid, which you can easily fix. But for the purposes of this demo, I'll just move my marker. And cool. So now I know that my bridge is my red cue point.
This be the beat to rock for the street.
So I know exactly what to drag down once I'm ready to rearrange it. So let's go and do that now.
What you want? Yeah. What you want? Where we going? Come on. Where we going? Come on. Where we going? Come on. Come on. Yeah. Come on. Who be?
So I'm gonna put that here.
What you want? Where we going? Come on. Where we going? Come on. Where we going? Come on. Come on. Yeah.
This be the beat to rock for the street.
Yeah.
More hot shots, we giving you more heat.
on.
Feeling that bounce, banging the concrete.
Say what?
Bang it in the club and banging it in your Jeep. Flip mode squad 2001. Wave your hands and rep where you're from. We're keeping it street cause that's how we live. It's what it is, baby. It's what it is, baby.
Come on. See what it is.
Cool. And then I'm gonna jump right back to the first verse, and that's gonna go about right here. And automatically snaps. So now let's play it.
Wave your hands and rep where you're from. We're keeping it street cause that's how we live. It's what it is, baby. It's what it is, baby.
Come on. Come on. Who be the father for this? Bounce right here. People be following this.
Cool. So now we've got seamless transition from intro to bridge to first verse. And then I only want that first verse because this is a quick hitter. So I'm going to let the first verse and the first hook play, and then I'm going to drop in my outro. So let's play this hook so I know where it's supposed to go.
No, we about to blow again.
That's not what it is right now.
Yeah.
That's not what it is right now. 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 That's not what it is right now.
Yeah.
That's not what it
You
is
want
right
now?
now.
Yeah.
That's not
Flip mode.
what it is right now.
Come on. Let me show you.
Cool. So instead of that second verse coming in, I'm going to drop my outro right there.
That's not
Flip mode.
what it is
Come
right now.
on. Come on. Flip mode up in the spot.
Now that is a little double drum situation going on there. So I'm just going to move this marker and clean it up a little bit.
Mode.
What it is right now.
Come on. Flip mode up in the spot. Come on. Violator in the spot. Come on. We got Khalees in the spot. Come on. Neptune in the spot.
Cool. Do you have any questions about that?
Yeah.
All right.
That's I mean, just looking at some of the comment, it's just like right, like
Yeah.
sound like make a comment, folks. I mean, if your brain just popped a little bit and that's a whole lot easier than you had any idea, let us know because that's super dope for sure.
Yeah, man.
I have a quick question, Sonny, and it probably wasn't in your workflow, and I don't want to put you on the spot. So if the answer is no, then don't. You said that your grid was off a little bit.
Yeah.
I assume that likely happens probably more often than not. Is it easy to fix that, or do you have to like go into another program and fix the grid?
Nope. So I'm not sure who's familiar with how to beat grid in Serato DJ, but it's a very similar process. So once you're in your audio track mode or view, that's where we're at now. You can see right here on your left, there's a little grid option.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can tap that, and then you can actually just move it like that. Or you can just click set on the downbeats, and you can set a new beat grid really easily. And I actually use that a lot for, acapellas when I'm doing a remix or a blend for a set. And then you just save it, and then your grid is shifted.
And when you shift that grid, does that affect what you've created down below?
Shouldn't.
Yeah.
Well, because I didn't set any new markers,
Right.
it should be good to go.
It's all locked in.
It's locked. Yeah.
We typically leave questions till the end, but do you want to go over a couple of questions real quick, just since we've just shown this first core piece?
We can, and we also have folks from the team in the comments who can answer some questions as well.
Oh, okay, cool. I don't know if it's relevant or not, and you can tell me if we want to jump to it later. Andrew Bell asked, you mentioned earlier about snapping to keys.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and that's that's a VST that auto snaps to the key that the original project's in, right?
So anything that you bring into Serato Studio that has a melodic element to it, you can adjust the key of it. And we can actually get into that in the demo I'm going to do following this one.
Okay, cool. All right.
Yeah, I'm going to get into that.
Perfect. All right,
Yeah.
Carry on, sir.
Yeah, it's all good. So that edit, as far as I'm concerned, is pretty much done. And if I want to go and export that to play it in the club, I can just hit export song. And then it gives me a couple options here. So wave is the first option. tons of DJs are asking for waves and also passing me waves. I personally don't play them that much because it's seldom that I'm playing on like a Function One sound system or anything that a wave is really required for. But it's the option is there. And then MP3 is, my usual option. And then if you're making a beat or, a remix where you have a bunch of moving parts that you might want to mix in another program, then you can actually export the stems as well, including your drum pad stems, which can be really helpful if you're trying to get a tight drum mix. So
cool.
I just click export, got my edits folder there, and I'll just call this AGI Busta edit. Exports offline, so you're not sitting through that old school Pro Tools bounce online forever.
Right.
And then that's that. And there we have it, so we can just play that in the club.
Just like that.
The next demo that I'd like to do is more, yeah, a little bit more involved. And that one's more of a, we're gonna make more of a remix kind of redrum edit.
Cool.
So if you don't have any more questions about this, I'll just close the session.
Yeah, go ahead and close it, and let's take a look at the house redrum.
Okay, cool.
Awesome.
So I'm just gonna start a new project. I won't save that. Cool. So let's pick a new song from my Serato DJ library.
While Sonny's loading that up, just a quick reminder, we are going to be doing some trivia at the end of this session, some Q&A and some trivia. And there'll be some questions about Serato and the history of Serato, and that's going to be your chance to win a Serato Studio license. So make sure you keep on and stay tuned in towards the end.
I'm going to drag this into my song view. Again, it automatically generates the Serato wave and sets a marker right where it thinks that first hit is. So I'm just going to move that a little bit so it's totally on time. Not sure who's familiar with this Nika Costa song that came out a while back, but I still love it. So we've got that on the one. Let's see. Okay, first thing I want to do is I'm going to adjust the tempo because I want to make a house edit out of this song. And we see here that the tempo automatically readjusted from 120 to 104. But I'm going to bump it up to, let's bump it up to 118. Again, it's going to seamlessly time stretch like all of our products do. No artifacts or weird glitchy sounds. It's all pretty much good to go, super clean. But I want to extend that intro, so I'm going to play that twice. So let's just jump back here. I'm going to play it in the song view. Cool. So before that drum comes in, I'm going to actually just duplicate that. So I'm going to drag that here. So now I've got that first few bars twice. And if I want to make sure that that's all on time, I can turn on my metronome, which is right up here next to the quantize button, and we can hear it. Cool, so we know that that's all on tempo. And then the next thing I want to do, because this is a redrum edit, is I'm going to go to my scenes view. And the first thing I've got here is my drum deck, which you can see on the left. On the right, you've got a simple step sequencer. I can either write notes in or I can just play them out in real time. And for this, it's going to be a really simple drum pattern. So I'm just going to do a 4 on the floor, kick, My scene size is 1 bar, so it's just literally gonna just continue to loop those 4 kicks. And that reflects here. So I'm just gonna rename this kicks. And then one of my favorite shortcuts to use in Serato Studio, and a couple other programs have it too, but I use it a lot in Serato Studio, is Command D, which is just duplicate. So if I have kicks highlighted, I can just keep Command D'ing, and that's just going to duplicate. So let's play it and see what that sounds like. Cool. So then she gets into the first verse. So on that first verse, I want to give it a little bit different, a little bit of a different feeling. I want to keep the kicks that I laid in there, but I want to add something on top. So I'm gonna just click on that, and then when I click the plus next to it, it gives me an option to either copy it or open an empty scene. In this instance, I'm gonna just copy that. So now I've got 2 identical scenes, and on this scene, I'm gonna add a hi-hat, and then I'll play it by itself so you hear it. Cool, just a 1 bar loop. I'm gonna drag that down there. Again, it automatically snaps, so the workflow is really quick. And I'm gonna play it, and then I'm gonna just duplicate that scene as I'm moving.
I face to the sky, dreaming about this high. I could go, and if I know when I finally get there, taking off my glasses, some folks in my lashes. Somehow I know there's a time for the star to shine. Everybody got that something, make you smile like an itty bitty child. Everybody got that something. Everybody got that something. Hey, people keep it.
Okay, cool. And now, now we're up to the second verse. So for me, I think what's really effective when you're making music is to just keep things sort of changing, so your ears don't burn out, and you come to expect the same thing over and over. So for each piece of the song, I want to just create a different feeling. So again, I'm going to duplicate this scene. So now again, I've got the first scene, which is just kicks. The second scene, I'm going to rename hats. And then on this scene, I'm going to add a little bit of percussion. So let's just call this percussion line. And oh, you know what? And there's another thing that I want to do too before I get too far in this song is I want to change the drum sound. So when you load a drum deck, or even when you load Studio to make a beat, the default drum kit is an 808 drum kit. But like I was saying earlier, we have all these really dope drum kits that we've gotten that have been curated by people who really know what they're doing, a lot more than I do. So I'm going to trust their ear, and I'm going to see what I can take from their library. Track Girl is one of the more recent kits that dropped, and she's got some really dope sounds. So I'm going to load this here. And before I do that, it's worth noting that all of my drums are labeled here. So my number 1 is always a kick. My number 2 is always a snare. Number 3 is always a hi-hat, and so on. So therefore, when I swap kits, all of those sounds are going to make sense with the MIDI that I've already written in. Does that make sense?
100%.
Okay, cool. So I'm just going to drop this Track Girl kit in, and then you'll see my sounds have changed.
A question, Sonny.
Sure.
You're triggering all the individual instruments. Are you just using a computer keyboard, or do you use a piece of hardware?
Yeah, so on my QWERTY keyboard, I'm using just numbers 1 through 8, but it's also mapped to a lot of our DJ hardware. And that information's on Serato.com. But yeah, I love to make music with the 1000 SRT and the S9 and the SB3 in particular, as well as, you know, the Rolling Gear 2 is all mapped. So it's great in particular because a lot of folks dread having to go out and buy a new piece of equipment in order to work with this software, but you don't have to. So cool. So I've got a snap here. I'm going to add a clap on every second, on every other kick. So let me add that. And I'm actually going to double this scene. So if I hit this plus here, it's going to now go to 2 bars instead of 1. So now I have a little bit of an opportunity to vary my pattern. So let me just play that. I like that. I'm just going to play around with that snap. This one I'm going to actually play in instead of writing in. Cool. And then another thing that I like to do in order to make it a little bit more my own and give it a little bit more depth is to add effects. So on this snap, I'm actually going to add a little bit of effect to give it some texture. Let's double that up. Now again, if I'm adding effects over here, it's actually similar to my EQ over here, which is just affecting just the cue point that I'm tapping or that I'm working on. So my kick, no effect. My snare, no effect. Hi-hat and so on, but my snap has that effect. And you can actually see your color code of your EQ change and the effects here change based on the sound that you're working with. So cool. So now let's go back to the song view, and I'm gonna use that scene now to make my second verse a little bit more interesting. So let's play out of that hook and see how it's coming along.
Hey, people keeping score, you better hurry up and get yours, 'cause somebody else got your spot before you even drop. Seeking you shall find everything in my own sweet time. I'll take the chances with what I believe is all that I know. So the rule don't fly, keep you from moving on. So get it right in the time, like a love song, like a butterfly. Believe it, if you hand it over, you'll come out alright. Yeah.
So now we're up to that second hook, which to me, in my mind, the second hook should sound a little bit bigger because the song is now developed. So what I want to do is I'm going to add a little bit more to just beef it up. So I'm going to just copy my last scene, and let's add some more percussion. I'm going to go into my audio samples, and I'm going to search for a shaker here. Gotta have a good shaker if you're making house music. We can preview the sounds. I like this decap shaken up shaker. So I'm just going to drag that here into an empty spot, and that's going to create the appropriate device for it, which is basically a Serato, a sample deck. So we can see here that it created a cue point. And that's cool, but I want it to be a little bit more groovy. So I'm going to use these parameters up here to halftime it. So this little ×2 or the half is really useful because you can easily make things 50% of the speed that you were or double. So I'm going to use that, and I'm also going to add some effects to that. So let me add some reverb. Gives it a little bit of depth, and then I'm going to add some echo. some dub echo. I love that dub echo. It really adds a lot. So let's see here. So let's try that. Cool. We'll just call that shaker. And, oh, but you know what? Before I even do that, I want to make it a little adjustment to my audio track, because we've got kicks in our drum sequence, but we also have kicks in the track. So, you know, depending on what you're listening to that on, or if you're in the club, it can definitely be overwhelming and sound a lot heavier than the other music that you're playing. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to just EQ a little bit. Like I said, in this right EQ, that's actually the EQ for the entire track. This left EQ is just applying per cue point. So that won't be the whole track. So I want to apply an EQ to the entire track. So I'm just going to do that here on the right. Bring that down a little bit. And then I'm going to add an effect as well. So sidechain, I'm not sure who in the chat might be familiar with sidechain, but it's a really useful tool and it's really popular in, you know, in modern dance music. But the sidechain, it basically is an effect that kind of ducks the audio that you're applying it to, and it's creating space in your track for your drums. So we've designed this so that it automatically defaults to whatever drum kit that you have active, and it also defaults to your kick. So the idea is that it's giving you a lot more space so that you can, you know, add your drums without it sounding really cluttered. So I'm just going to solo this so you can hear the effect of it without the drums playing. Because even without the drums playing, it's going to be its job. So now that's going to create a lot more space. So let's play it now and see how we're looking. Cool. I'm happy with that. So now
yeah, that's super cool.
Yeah, man, it's a really useful tool, and for anyone who's made music and tried to use sidechain on other devices, you know it can be quite a process to get it dialed in. So
yeah, you guys have made it really simple. Like that whole process was, and it's all like pre-dialed in to what you were working on, where it needed to be. You didn't have to go in and configure a bunch.
Yeah, that's the idea, man, because we want people to kind of stay in creative mode instead of troubleshooting mode.
Right.
And that's really helpful for me because I can go down the rabbit hole of YouTube tutorials and so on, but then I've lost my idea. You know what I mean? So
right. Yeah, that's super dope. That sounds really, really good.
Sweet. So now let me just add this scene with my shaker, and let's hear it. Cool. Now for that shaker, I just want to, for that shaker, I want to pronounce it a little bit more. So I'm going to just add some soft compression here, just to make it stand out a little bit more, so it's more of a drastic change once it comes in. I can also use filter to make it a little bit more my own. And let me just solo it so I can hear the changes I'm making. So there's a breakdown, which, you know, if I still have lots of things going on, it might not sound the best. So I'm just going to dial it back a little bit, and I'm just going to go back to my regular scene with the hi-hats. That's the great thing about creating in scenes, is that you can always just go back and reference them. And then I'm going to bring my first percussion scene back in just to add a little bit more. And you know what? I'm going to go back to my regular hi-hat scene for this. And for me, it's all preference. It's not like there's a wrong or right way to do it, but I DJ and make music based on how I feel. So. So I'm going to leave that as it is. I'm actually not going to play any drums over that part, since it's a pretty solid breakdown. And you know what? When I come back in, I want to add just a little bit more percussion. So I'm going to take my last scene, copy it again, and I'm just going to add a little bit more. Let's see here. You know what? There is another shaker in here. Let's see here. Maybe it's in my drums. And I love I love a lot of those core sounds like MSX Audio and Decap. Those guys in particular really nailed it in terms of just giving you tools that just already sound dope, you know. You have any questions while I'm looking for this?
Let me see if there's any question. I don't have anything. I'm just soaking it all in, and I'm sure a lot of other people that are watching are taking notes. And
Yeah.
And sound packs are dope. They are. That's fantastic. And the thing that's so cool is that these sound packs, they're adding to this library all the time, so you have access to it, and you get new packs as well.
Yeah.
And they sound fantastic. Shout out to Track Girl. Yeah, for sure.
I like this sound, so I'm gonna just again drag that into an empty deck. And it's worth noting too that the hotkeys that we're used to using for Serato DJ also work here. So you can also shift left in order to drag things onto a deck that you already have loaded, or you can shift right to create a new deck. So I use those hotkeys a lot. But for the purposes of this, I'm dragging and dropping, so it's visual.
Hotkeys are your friend.
Totally.
If you don't learn hotkeys, you're doing it wrong.
Yeah. So this loop is normally at 87 BPMs, but it's going to stretch automatically to 118 unless I tell it not to. That sounds pretty dope. And what I want to do is, you know what? I'm going to actually change the timing of that. So I'm going to drag this marker here. Yeah. And then, so I did that using the top flag. And on the bottom flag, you can actually adjust the parameter of how long it plays. So if you go into your different trigger modes up here, this first trigger mode is, so I actually have to hold it down. and it only plays as long as I hold it. And then this one, it's just, I can just play it once. If I just tap it one time, then it's just going to keep playing. So I kind of want that to happen, but I don't want it to play the full sample. So I'm just going to drag my parameter to, let's just drag it there. Cool. So now that I've changed my trigger mode, I can literally just write in one trigger of it here. Cool, and I like that. So let's just create a little bit more depth. I'm going to use the Beam Me Up echo. Cool. And now I can drag that down here. Again, I want this space to stay empty so that dropout actually has the effect that it had on the original track. You know what? I'm gonna put this here. Let's see here. And because I've extended that parameter for that last shaker that I brought in to be sort of twice the length that it actually plays, it's actually going to play a little bit longer. So you'll see that here. So if you're watching up here, you can see that it's actually playing a little bit longer, which is exactly how I want it. Because on this hi-hat scene, there's no shaker. So I want sort of the residual shaker from this previous scene that I had in here. So I duplicate that and cool. And then I can just bring a little bit of percussion back in. Cool. So
Boom.
I feel like I've got my my little edit that I can play out and kind of call it my own. So, something else that we should mention is that the key shifting. So up here, this is the key of the project. I use Camelot wheel because I'm not trained in music, so it's easier for me to be able to match keys and so on. But if I just tap one of these arrows, it's actually going to change the key of the entire project. So let's just do that in real time so you can see. Now, you know, again, it's not as though there's a right or wrong way to do it. It really depends on what you're trying to accomplish. So, you might want a darker feel. In that case, you might want to pitch it down a little bit. And if you want like sort of a more upbeat, happier feel, then you might want to pitch it up a little bit. We could try that as well. I kind of like how that feels, so I might leave it in that range. What was the question that you guys had about the pitch shift or the key shift?
Andrew Bell had a question a while ago. Kevin, can you find Andrew's question? While he's looking for that, Sonny, are there any kind of like finalizing or mastering tools built into Serato Studio also? So when you're all finished, you can give it that one last polish?
Yeah, sure. That's a great question. So in this song view, you can see that you've got your scene track, you've got your audio track that you brought in. You can also bring in other audio tracks if you choose to go down that rabbit hole. And then lastly, you've got your master track here. And this feature is really powerful because it automatically loads with a few like default options, just to sort of make your track come alive a little bit more. A brightener EQ, and then you can also just apply some of these other mastering tools to each like effect socket, so to speak. So if you use the brightener, you can kind of see how that works. It's kind of slight, but let's see. Master compression. And I'll actually adjust it tremendously just so you can sort of see the wave rendering in real time. Because, those of us who make music in other programs, we often like to export real quick and then load it in Serato just to see how it measures up to the rest of the stuff in our library.
Right.
But, when you're making music in Serato Studio, that's no longer necessary because you can actually see it in real time. So
you're basically seeing it in a Serato view already.
Correct. So I'm just going to add a little bit of compression and limiter so you can see what it's doing. Now you don't want those big blocks. I mean, maybe you do, but me personally, I don't want those big block waves that you can't really see the different frequencies of what's going on. So if you know that you're sort of getting into that zone where it's like just big, then you know that you should maybe add some compression or maybe pull back a couple things on the EQ and basically just tweak it until it's at a place where you're confident playing it out. And also, as I mentioned earlier, you can use your third-party VSTs. Like, we have a partnership with Isotope, and the Ozone 9 Elements that's become one of my favorite tools to use, particularly for mastering. And let me see here. So if I were to drag that onto this guy, it actually opened in my other window, but can you see that?
Yep.
Okay, cool. And then I'm going to turn these other ones off since we don't need to overprocess this. And the cool thing about this tool is that it gives you presets and it also comes with a mastering assistant. So if you're really novice at it, then you can actually just play the track. And when you hit the master assistant, it kind of analyzes your audio and does what it feels is best. And I got to say, I feel like it's usually pretty close. So you can just basically tell it how intense you want it to be and what's your destination. Is it for streaming or for CD? Most of us are streaming at this point. So time, Ozone 9 Elements is actually pulling back a lot of what I've done in the mix just to clean it up and make it a little bit more crisp and easier to digest to the ear.
Face to the sky, dreaming about this high. If I know when I finally get there, taking off my
And again, if you feel like you feel like it's not totally right, you can totally tweak it. You can reanalyze or do whatever you need to do. That's going to make it more to your liking.
And that was just using auto mode. Very impressive.
Yeah, exactly. Just super quick tools.
I don't know. What do you think, Sonny? Should we throw this up on a Dropbox link, and anybody that was in the live can shoot us an email and request the edit?
Oh yeah, I'm happy to share it.
Custom Sonny James mix.
Yeah, for sure.
Anybody in the comments? Shoot us a little comment there if you want to get in on that. But it's definitely.
Yeah, I'll export it.
I'm digging it for sure.
Sweet, man. Again, considering the amount of time that we took doing it, it's pretty solid, considering that it's like really like 15 minutes of work. And that I'm happy about because I'm really busy, so I'm not trying to work on songs for weeks and weeks if I can help it.
Well, I think the ability to, right now, nobody's DJing out, right? Everybody's either streaming or they're doing other things or prepping or they're, working on something different.
Yeah.
And this is this particular time where, we're staying at home or spending more time at home is a perfect time to learn a new tool, which is why we reached out to Serato and to you and wanted to show everybody the power of Serato Studio and how easy it is to use, and it's very obvious looking at the workflow of creating a redrum and an edit how close this is to Serato. It's not a really big reach. If you're going to go and work in another program, and there's lots of programs out there to make remixes and edits, they all make my brain hurt for sure.
Yeah, 100%.
But
I feel like when I've used some other programs, I've felt like I had to go back to college in order to really get my head around it.
Like you said, you're going to watch 50 YouTube videos to learn how to get your brain wrapped around something new, and you might end up with garbage after 2 weeks. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think.
Like Gemini,
no, go ahead.
Gemini had said, just like many, I've been afraid of this program, but now seeing it in action, yes, totally agree, 100% agree.
Yeah, man. And I think a lot of folks are intimidated just by having to learn. Just the idea of learning something new is too much.
Just anything new.
We're all busy. You know what I mean? It's not like, any of us just have heaps of free time. We're all busy doing something. Yep. So I think, the idea is to be able to, to get in there and express yourself creatively without, having to break your neck to understand it. So I'm thrilled that this product exists, and even if I didn't work for the company, it would probably be my main go-to for creating music and making edits.
Absolutely. I for one, I opened it, I started to fiddle with it, and I was just like, I don't have time to do this right now.
Right.
And but you can totally see if you're, let's say you're flying cross country on a plane. I mean, there's so much stuff that you can do just by having. Are there offline modes? That's a great question. Are there offline modes where you can pull sample packs in?
So all the sound packs that are on our site, you download them.
Okay, so they're not cloud-based at all.
They're not cloud-based yet. You actually download them, and it's a little pack file, and you double-click it, and it instantly opens the program. It installs it where it should be, and the amount of extra work you have to do it's not even there.
Yeah, you guys have taken a lot of the pain points and challenge points out of music creation and put it into a format that makes sense, and that it's a connection to where you've already been if you've been DJing on Serato. So
sure, yeah, exactly.
This is fantastic.
Yeah,
if you guys have questions, make sure you put them in the channels. I wanted to touch base real quick on the trivia that's coming up. If you're on Instagram, you'd need to connect to one of the 4 other streaming platforms because we have no way of interacting with the Instagram the way that we're streaming this to Instagram. So If you do want to participate in the trivia, make sure you jump on Facebook or YouTube, Periscope, or Twitch. Just so you know, make sure you jump into one of those platforms if you're joining us on Instagram Live. And then the other nature of the beast is these are all online streams that are all being dished out by the software platform we're using, so everything's not going to be in real time. So we're not going to be doing a first to answer kind of a thing. It'll be right answers on our trivia questions into a hat, and then Kevin, our genius producer who's sitting behind the scenes driving the show, will randomly choose winners for each of the platforms. And Kevin, you can nod your head that I can see. Am I right? Okay, perfect. Gotcha. So that's how we're going to do it, because the first answer on one platform, on another platform, you might see it and say that, hey, I answered that, 3 seconds ago. So,
all right, for clarification, whoever answers the question first on each platform is going to go into my hat, this hat right here, and then I'm going to choose the platform. So I'll choose whether it's Twitch or whatever. So you still want to answer first, but some streams are ahead of each other. So we're just going to take the first correct answer off each one and then choose randomly from those platforms.
Perfect. And we're going to do the drawings at the end, because how many licenses do we have to give away? 5 licenses. Perfect.
Yeah, I think there's 5. Yeah.
So before we get into the trivia, does anybody have any questions for Sonny directly about what we just went over? I don't know if you all have noticed, but the wonderful people at Serato have been helping us out on the different platforms, answering questions, and they're going to be around to answer some questions after the fact too. But if you have anything directly to ask Sonny about what we just made, please pop that into the chat right now.
Can I answer DJ? I think it was Tom real quick.
Yeah.
He was just asking whether it's realistic for novice users to open this and to use it. And absolutely, I think even if you don't have much of a Serato DJ library, like I said, the sound packs are free, so it gives you so many tools that you could just go ahead and just get an idea started. Even if you've never used a DAW or any kind of production tool before, it's really easy. And also, all the sound packs actually come with demo tracks as well, like several demo tracks per sound pack. So you can go ahead and open up like a Just Blaze demo that he actually made using all the tools that you have at your disposal, and you can see exactly how he's doing what he's doing. So that was really helpful for me, learning to be a little bit more proficient with it.
Right on. Adolf says, when you save export, does it go directly to your Serato library, or is there a dedicated folder?
You can tell it where to go. Okay. So yeah.
You did. There was a save dialog that popped up, and you just exported it out. So yeah,
totally. I usually just bounce stuff to my desktop so I can share it in iMessage or whatever. Me and the team, we always like to send things back and forth to get feedback.
Right on. Also, thing to point out would be right now the 30-day trial for Serato Studio is $1.
That's correct.
Perfect time to sign up, check out the software, check out the platform for $1. Come on, guys, it's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's a no-brainer, especially after seeing how simple it is to do. A quick re-edit, make a quick hitter, a tool that I think somebody made a comment earlier that this was like a offline version of like Serato Flip, where you're basically making a real track like a re-edit. So
right, yeah, Serato Flip is also a great tool I keep in my arsenal. For those who don't know about Serato Flip, that's actually an expansion that you can use in Serato DJ, and it automates your cue point and sensor movement in the program. So if you have like a kick and a snare and you drum it, you can actually kind of, I don't want to say record it, but you can record it basically, and then when you play that flip out, it will automate, and as that data actually that metadata saves to the track. So it's awesome, man. It basically doesn't take up any more space, and it allows you to do all kinds of creative things with the same MP3.
It's like macros for Serato.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Shout out DJ Life, and DJ Regulator said, what's the easiest way to warp an acapella? So in Serato Studio, you're not really warping in the same way that you are in Ableton or other programs. You're basically, it's basically time stretching automatically. And to me, the best way to get your acapella to be on is just to make sure your beat grid is lined up. So what I would do is I would load my acapella into the audio track view, and then just turn my metronome on, and then basically sometimes it nails it right away, but it is a computer, so sometimes you have to go and make adjustments, but that's been the quickest way for me.
And you know where you have the original core track, so you know what the the real BPM is, so
Yeah,
you've got a target to work with. So
totally. Yeah.
True Music says, "Is there any video? Are there other videos online to check out how to work studio?" Oh yeah, there's a ton.
Yeah, we've
a
actually
ton.
produced a lot of content. Shout out to the New York team, because ever since, even before Serato Studio came out, they've just been on what seems like a 24-hour grind, just creating educational content to get everybody off and running. So, and we have a couple ads out there too that are running too. But in terms of like educational content, yeah, on our site, serato.com/studio, there's tons of tutorials to get you up to speed.
Nice. Kevin just popped the email up on the screen. If you do want to get a copy of the edit that Sonny just did for us, just shoot us an email to promos@agiprodj.com. We'll get it taken care of.
Sweet.
You want to do some trivia?
Know it.
Cool. So we're going to do some trivia, and these are going to be for giveaways for Serato Studio. We've got, how many we have? We have 5 questions. Perfect. All right. So question number 1. What was the first Serato official accessory to be introduced? I'll let you guys answer that in the comments.
Need some Jeopardy music.
Yeah, right. While they're working on some answers, Sonny, the over time, Serato's definitely involved, from Scratch Live just being on Rain hardware to the Itch project, which is what they originally wanted to do, but they couldn't find anybody to build a controller for them. It's interesting, the evolution of all the hardware that's been developed over time.
Yeah.
For the the different versions of software that have existed.
It's been great to be a part of it. I remember seeing the first SL1 box that came out, and I bought it somewhere in Philly, and I was just like, what am I going to do now? Like, now that I have this thing, and then it was like importing all my CDs then, and recording my records, and also sharing libraries with the homies. And to go from those days to now, it's like night and day. It's insane how much things have developed.
Just for the record, guys, nobody's got the right answer yet. So it's not software. It's not pitch and time. That would be software. It's a hardware accessory. And it's not dice. Everybody's like mad Google right now. Gotta find this.
Just got to say big up to the Serato team that's in the comments. Big up my guy Mike Well, who's from Serato HQ, but working out of LA now, and all the rest of the team at HQ and everywhere tuned in.
Yeah, thank you guys for the help. We really appreciate it.
Glad to be a part of it. Shout out.
SL1 would be an interface, not an accessory. Kevin, should we come back?
I'm sorry, my questions are not the easiest questions in the world. We'll move on to question 2. If you want to Google it in another browser while you're trying to figure it out, you can.
Okay, perfect. We will go on to question number 2. What was the first unofficial Serato online support forum called? Anybody know the URL? And exactly the URL?
I know there's some OGs in the comments.
There's got to be, right? I mean, and we're talking day 1, like day 0. AGI Pro DJ was a rain dealer.
Sonny,
years and
give
years
us a
and
beat in
years
the
ago.
background.
Oh, just cook one up for you real quick.
Yeah, just drop something in the background.
Just throw something on.
All right, cool.
No, there we go.
Let's see here. There's something in my library.
idon'tknow.com.
This is my DJ library, so it's massive. Let me just see here. How's that?
Yeah, bring it down just a hair. Just a touch. Perfect. Maybe up just a little. Perfect. So, Kevin, do we? Do you want to? Should I announce the URL because somebody did get it right on Twitch? Shekazoid got it right. See my time. So yeah, Shekazoid, red one. We'll put you guys in the drawing. It is scratchlive.net. So backstory on that: when Scratch Live, the SL1 first came out, there wasn't really a support forum available. I wasn't even working at AGI Pro DJ yet. I had bought. I think my serial number of my SL1 box was 1 or 2 digits. One of the first boxes, and Jason over at AGI Pro DJ, they cooked up a forum, made some different categories, and AJ was in there, Steve was in there, Sam was not Sam, not yet, but Steve and AJ, and like you said, Sonny, a lot of the OGs were in there and answered questions, and it was a good thing to have at the time because Serato was something new. All we'd had to DJ with a computer was Final Scratch, and we all know what that was like.
Early days, right?
Yeah, early days for sure. So yeah, scratchlive.net, and that URL was passed over to Serato at a later date from AGI, again before I was on board. But yeah, that was cool. It was fun to be able to build that support forum, and be able to offer that, that beginning into the connection to Serato software. Being a huge fan of Scratch Live from day zero, yeah, I love it. Oh, we got a right answer for trivia number 1. That is absolutely correct, Andrew Bell. The Denon DNHC 1000S was the first official accessory. There's one in this building somewhere, and since we moved about a year ago, we haven't been able to find it, but it's here somewhere. But we actually have one. Question number 3. What was the version of Serato called that was exclusively made for controllers like the Denon HC5000 and the VCI 300? And hint, I've already said it. So if you're paying attention. Right? Like I already gave the answer, didn't I, Sonny?
I think so.
Yeah. I am DJ Life. Got our first answer for Twitch. Yes. It is Serato Itch. The story that I've been told is that Itch was actually the product that the guys wanted to come out with first, and they couldn't find anybody to build a controller. So instead, they partnered with Rain, created the SL1 box, and that 9-year license. The rest was history. Sure. So yeah, Serato Itch, VCI 300, HC5000, VCI 380, NS6, NS7, all Itch controllers. Cool. Oh yeah, the Pioneer DDJ S1 as well. Kevin, you got your entries for 3 in the can? Perfect. Number 4. After the black, what order were the original 3 Scratch Live control records released in? Jesus, Kevin, these are not easy.
Yeah, Kevin's not playing about.
Hey,
You're not playing.
Shout out Tony for this question. Tony.
Oh yeah. Shout out to Tony for this. He helped us out for sure.
Big up Tony. Big up to the whole sales team. They
Yeah.
they kill themselves every day for this product.
Yeah. So, what were the original 3 Scratch Live control record colors? What order were they released in? So colors and order. Boom, 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 boom. That's it. True got it. Red, then blue, then purple. Andrew, almost. Control vinyl was released black first. Version 1.0 came out, and it had some crazy anomaly in the pressing. Was very quickly phased into version 1.1 black, and then red, blue, and purple. Cool. Sonny, did you know that one?
I did not know that one. I feel like I could have guessed it because of the order that I bought them in, but yeah, I wouldn't have really remembered.
TomTom 1, no, not Gully Perps. They were actually like Grimace Perps. They were translucent, kind of a magenta-ish purple color. You could see through them.
Oh.
So those are the original purples.
Word.
Kevin made some show notes here, and if I don't go over my show notes, he's going to kick my butt. 6 years ago, AGI Pro DJ actually teamed up with the guys from Serato, and we released we did the first Control Vinyl collector party with the Facebook group, and then Jared from 12-inch Skins. We had some art that was contracted right there by Eric Orr, and it would be like these vinyls right here. The first meetup, we had these picture discs that were available. Huge surprise when Steve and AJ and Sam rolled into the building and signed everybody's records. So, you can see the founders' signatures on the vinyl. So that was really cool. That was something really fun to be involved in from day one for sure.
Super sick. Big up to all the vinyl the software vinyl.
Right.
Control vinyl.
Software control vinyl collector group.
Yeah.
There you go.
That's
for sure.
Got a lot of love for those guys.
Yep, for sure. All right. Last question. Number 5. Sonny used a Busta Rhymes track for the DJ edit. What legendary rapper gave Busta Rhymes his moniker? Who gave Busta his name? Sonny, I'm going to let you answer this one. When did
Somebody might know it, actually.
Yeah. Not Big Daddy Kane. Nope.
It's not Kane.
Not Q-Tip. Boom. Sonny.
Social Soundtracks. Right? Is that who guessed it? Sorry. It's moving kind of quick.
It is moving. Yeah. Social.
Yeah. Chuck D.
Yep.
Oh, no, wait a minute. Actually, Adolf answered it. It looks like a
hat. The Twitch one came in first, and then Facebook. Yeah, so this is why we're having to pick him out of a hat. Because,
okay, got it. All right. Sorry.
Yeah, it's just all these crazy streams. So, but yeah, it was Chuck D of Public Enemy.
Yeah.
All right.
Another Serato icon, by the way, Chuck D.
Kill a couple minutes while I get these all drawn out, and we'll get the winners announced.
Right. I appreciate you guys doing this showcase, man. I feel like it's a great opportunity for people to see the program used in an organic way.
Definitely, yeah. It's like I said, Tony hooked us up with a copy of Serato Studio, and I loaded it up and loaded a sample. One of the like you said, there's some included projects, like our little countdown beat. I think Kevin it's one of the included tracks, and he just fiddled with it a little bit, and that's how that came about. But
awesome, man. And then the countdown for today is a beat I made in Serato Studio.
Exactly. So I'm really excited to go back and play with Serato Studio some more, for sure. This has been really enlightening on how easy it is to use and how powerful, for sure.
Yeah, man.
What's the latest on the 20th anniversary repress? It's imminent. Right now, most of the vinyl pressing facilities are shut down because of the stay-at-home orders from various states. But I do believe that they've got everything all kind of mapped out, and they have a plan in place for what's going to be repressed. And it's just getting it on the books and getting it released, and then getting it out to everybody that jumped on the 20th anniversary box set, which is right there. I think we actually have like 3 of these left. If you haven't gotten one, we have like 3 left. So jump on and grab one if you do need one for sure.
Here's mine.
There you go.
And if you guys haven't, you should check out our documentary that we worked on as well. It's on our YouTube, youtube.com/Serato HQ. And it's a lot of cool OG knowledge in there, and a lot of current users, and just a lot of cool stories about Serato. A lot of team from HQ, AJ and Steve are both really present in it.
Right on.
I feel like we, I shoot a lot of the content too. I shoot all the content on the West Coast between me and Destruct and our creative director MCD in New Zealand. We worked pretty hard on that stuff, and there's 2 more parts coming, so stay tuned.
Right on. Very cool. Very cool. And it's also worth noting the content of the coffee table book that's in the box set is awesome. That book is amazing.
I love it.
It's so much fun, like flipping through, and you're like, oh, I remember that, and yeah. Honestly, the vinyl was just a bonus in my opinion. The book was truly the piece to it, was that 20-year history of Serato. So.
Yeah. Adolph asked, could I give out the website again? Sure. It's youtube.com/Serato HQ. You can see the 20-year anniversary.
Kevin, if you can post that URL, that would be cool also. And I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I've got all 5 of our winners. Andrew Bell, Serato Studio winner. Shikazoid. Chic
One, what up?
Yeah. Fat Controls, DJ True, and then Adolph Audubon. So if you 5 people, Andrew Bell, Chicazoid, Fat Controls, DJ True, and then Adolph, if you would email promos@agiprodj.com, you are our winners tonight. Thank you so much for joining in on our trivia, and for hanging out with Sonny and I, and while we do some re-edits and showcase the power of Serato Studio. So again, if you're one of the 5 winners, email promos@agiprodj.com. We'll get all your information over to the folks at Serato HQ, and they will get you all hooked up with a free copy of Serato Studio. Yeah, for sure. Anyway, thank you so much, everybody, for joining. I want to give a huge thanks to Kevin here on our AGI Pro DJ team. Kevin's driving the show. He has done the talent booking. He's worked with the folks at Serato HQ for this show, and all the the wonderful people over there, and get the live streams scheduled. Working with Ivan to get us up on Instagram at the same time that we're streaming on, we're streaming on 5 platforms simultaneously. So huge shout out to Kevin here on the AGI Pro DJ crew. And thank you so much for everything that you do. I wouldn't be sitting here if it wasn't for him. So
for sure.
Next week's show, we're going to cover Innofaders. We're going to have Patrick from Innofader on, and we're going to go over which Innofaders fit which mixers and why you should have an Innofader if you don't already know. It's really interesting during this stay-at-home period of time. We've seen so many DJs that have, bought an Innofader. It's time to get that crossfader replaced because they're not working. So, yeah, for sure. Sonny, huge thank you, man. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you guys, man. It's my pleasure to be here. I love it. And shout out Tony B and Cut Corners and Mitch in the comments. So
yeah, thank you guys from the Serato HQ for joining in and helping us with all the comments online. We really appreciate it. Next time the Serato team comes up to Oregon, Killer Burgers on us. So there you go.
The peanut butter joint.
That's the peanut butter. What is it? PBPB. Peanut butter, pickle, and bacon.
Yeah,
bomb.
it
So
sounds
good.
sounds really ambitious, but it's proper. It's done.
Yeah,
It's done.
it is. It is. It is. All right, man. Sonny, anything else? Anything you want to put up Sonny's socials real quick? If you want to reach out to Sonny on social media, he's on all platforms.
Yeah, I'm just Mr. Sonny James on everything. I've been
Yep.
doing a bunch of DJing on Twitch. Me and my crew, Ill Vibe Collective. So you can catch us on twitch.tv/Ill Vibe Collective. And yeah, man, I'm always active. I'm working for Serato full time, obviously, but I'm also still playing gigs when gigs happen, and
Right.
I do radio shows and mixes and the rest of it. So I'm pretty busy. Follow me.
Right on.
Let's catch up.
That's cool. Yeah, and if you want to get a copy of that redrum or quick edit that Sonny did today, just email us promos@agiprodj.com, and we'll get you a Dropbox link for that. Mr. Sonny James, thank you very much, sir. I really appreciate it.
Guys, thanks, Todd. Thanks, Kev.
Yep, for sure. Serato crew, thanks for the help online, and to everybody else watching, on behalf of myself, Kevin, and Ramon here at AGI Pro DJ, we really appreciate you tuning into our Afters Hours. We will see you next week.